In the beginning, when we just received this vehicle, it didn't have anything but 2 rows of seats that couldn't even be secured vertically. They were always unfolded. Not exactly reassuring. After a heavy assault, the number of wounded can easily outnumber the seats in this old FV432. And when it comes to battlefield evacuation, every second can decide whether a soldier lives or dies. That's why before taking it into a combat mission, fighters from the AZOV Brigade gave this British armored personnel carrier a serious upgrade. How did they manage to adapt an old warhorse to the realities of modern combat? A Ukrainian soldier spills the truth. This armor mule first rolled into the world stage in the 1960s. Designed as a troop carrier, the British answer to the M113, it had a steel hull built to protect infantry from nuclear, biological, and chemical threats. At the time, the British had managed to create a modern, affordable, mass-produced vehicle. Over the decades, manufacturer G.K. Sankey built 3,000 of them. 65 years on, shouldn't a machine like this be history? Not quite. For Ukraine's infantry, getting to the fight, pulling the wounded out alive, and hauling in ammo is still life or death, and that's exactly what this old workhorse delivers. But here's the real question. How do you turn a relic of the Cold War into a lifesaver on today's battlefield? This particular FV432 is used exclusively for casualty evacuation. When a soldier is badly wounded, his survival depends entirely on how fast he's moved to a stabilization point. To win that race against death, the FV432 relies on a Rolls-Royce engine and tracked mobility. We use the British FV432 APC with a 5.9-liter engine and a 6-speed automatic gearbox. The tracks are with rubber elements, which make it perfect for our terrain, both for the sand and asphalt. These vehicles will allow us to move to the zero line and quickly evacuate casualties. You've probably seen the videos online. Ukrainian troops, short on armored vehicles, evacuating their wounded in civilian pickup trucks. Most of these trucks are gifts from volunteers. The terrifying part is that wheeled vehicles can bog down in Ukraine's muddy terrain and get stuck. When that happens, the wounded man's chances drop sharply. One of this APC's advantages is its tracks, as a tracked vehicle has a higher mobility level, especially in poor weather conditions, rain, snow, and slush. You can move to the forward edge without worrying you'll get stuck with the casualty, unable to get out. Pickups have zero armor. They were built for entirely different jobs. Now imagine trying to drive out of a sector where bullets and shrapnel are smashing into your vehicle from the sides. Suddenly, even a vintage battle-scarred armored relic like the FV432 starts to look like a lifeline. It's another advantage over passenger vehicles is its armor, which is 12.7 millimeters thick. Its frontal projection, according to specification, can withstand an RPG, or heavy machine gun shot. Before we continue, hit that like button. It helps YouTube push this video to new viewers, so we can create more videos for you. The FV432's 5 road wheels and torsion bar suspension give it a relatively smooth ride. But here's something even more impressive. It can ford water up to 1.5 meters. And when it comes to speed and mobility, here's what a Ukrainian soldier says. The combination of the engine and the gearbox allows it to accelerate to a maximum of 60 kilometers per hour on-road and 30 to 35 kilometers per hour off-road, for instance on sand or mud. It can move quickly and smoothly. But don't get carried away just yet. Before this Bulldog became a reliable combat asset, it had to go through a long, painful modernization process. When the AZOV Brigade first got it, the vehicle was in terrible shape. Engineers and medics had to work hard to turn this rusted old hauler into something battle-ready. The first upgrades were made in the troop compartment. The first renovation inside that we made was the replacement of the old lining because it had a lot of scratches. We also painted it white, which is clearer for the eye. You can see blood or mud against this background, making it easier to clean. Normally, the FV432 troop section has 5 seats on each side, enough for 10 soldiers. The medical version has a different layout, and Azov's crew made full use of it, filling the space with medical supply boxes and stretchers. Inside, there are organizer boxes around the perimeter with tourniquets and bandages to provide the casualties with better care. We also added mounting inlets to install additional seats. We can also load additional stretchers here, allowing us to evacuate 2 severely injured casualties or some kind of cargo. To treat the wounded on the move, they added extra lighting, so medics can spot even small wounds and check casualties properly. And to keep a soldier's body temperature from dropping in Ukraine's brutal winters, they installed an autonomous heater. We also added white and green light, which can be switched on both by the driver and the medics. We also installed an autonomous diesel heater, which is fueled from the fuel tanks and adds heat in the vehicle, so it's always warm inside, even if the engine's not started. During evacuation, the driver is pushing through shattered asphalt or dirt roads, dodging potholes and fallen trees. Now imagine how that feels for a wounded soldier in the back. To avoid causing more pain, the stretchers are fitted with securing devices that stabilize the body. On top of that, the vehicle's been upgraded with equipment to keep a casualty breathing. And soon, it will even have a refrigerator to store not only medicine, but also blood for transfusions. We also added stretchers with securing devices, which allows us to fix the casualty in place and prevent their movement on the go. The stretchers don't jump as the vehicle moves. Additionally, we added an oxygen concentrator for the casualties. This is our heating system control monitor. Here, we have installed a 220-volt inverter that we can use to power the refrigerator we're going to install here. We already have a mounting device for it. Subscribe so you don't miss the next video about military hardware and the modern battlefield. The front line often runs far from cities, through open fields and forests. This means dust and sand constantly try to get inside, making it harder to breathe. To fix that, AZOV's crew upgraded the ventilation system. We also renovated the ventilation system, so now it ventilates the vehicle, filtering sand and forcing fresh air into the APC, which is really needed here. The medics who evacuate soldiers from the red zone in this vehicle know full well their ride is a prime target for the Russians. That's why they added a fire extinguisher, just in case. If the APC is hit by a mine or a drone and catches fire, the crew can respond immediately, giving them a better chance to save themselves and the vehicle. The first thing we did was adding an extinguisher so I can reach it with my hand from my seat in case of fire and use it immediately. Another upgrade the drivers definitely appreciate: cameras that let them drive both day and night, forward or in reverse, without guesswork. Kind of like a Tesla. Now imagine the reaction of a British Army veteran from the 60s if you let him test this out. The second improvement was the installment of front and rear cameras to make reverse movement safer, without hitting anyone or anything. Installing a camera might sound simple, but on the battlefield, it's a game changer. It gives the driver a much clearer view of the road and lets him avoid obstacles without having to stick his head out and expose himself to fire. Most modern armored vehicles, including MRAPs, come with this kind of tech. In today's war, it's less of a luxury and more of a necessity. And the frontal camera that can be used instead of periscope. When we go out on a combat mission, we move down the seat, close the sight hole, switch on the monitors, and move forward using the camera. The camera also allows for a wider angle of sight and a higher level of movement safety, so to speak. If you thought Ukrainian upgrades stopped there, you'd be dead wrong. Fighting in southern and eastern Ukraine means summer heat can hit 30 to 40 degrees Celsius. Sitting inside an armored box under direct sunlight feels like locking yourself in a tin can and tossing it into a bonfire. So, taking a page out of Pimp My Ride, the crew added a fan to their steel beast. We also added one more fan, which is a salvation. This is our air conditioning system, so to speak. On the left here, the engine is located, which makes it really hot for the driver. But this small fan is like a drop of water in a desert. One of the crew's favorite things about the FV432 is its simplicity. Anyone in the evacuation team can figure it out and get it moving within minutes. The soldiers even joke that it's like learning to ride a bicycle. Once you've got it, you don't forget. And in a crisis, that means anyone inside can replace the driver and get the group out of danger. As for the controls, it has a 6-speed gearbox, 2 levers for moving to the left and to the right. We also use them to stop the APC. You pull them, and the vehicle stops. The only pedal here is the accelerator. The vehicle is simple as a bicycle. That is, to learn to drive this vehicle, you need 7 to 15 minutes. You get in, and you go. Unfortunately, the Bulldog's only weapon is a 7.62mm machine gun that can be operated from inside. Not exactly overwhelming firepower, but it's enough to suppress enemy infantry that might pop out from an ambush. And in a war where Ukraine needs thousands of armored evacuation vehicles, it's better to have a lighter gun than no armor at all. This modernized pit bull got its baptism of fire with one of Ukraine's most capable brigades. And it's safe to say it's already saved dozens of lives. During the trials, this APC proved to be perfect for our terrain, and the refinements we did will make the evacuations more appropriate, faster, and more efficient. This will help us save more lives of our brothers in arms and bring them to stabilization points faster. So, what do you think? Which one holds up best on the battlefield? The British FV432, the American M113, or the Swedish PBV302? Drop your pick in the comments.